I think anxiety ni, to me anxiety ni tahap yang lebih tinggi daripada stress. So like as you said, ini kebimbangan yang menghantui. It's not bimbang biasa tau.
So there is a study here that caregivers of children with neurodevelopmental disorders that face psychological issues during COVID-19 pandemic, right? And the statistics were 36.6% reported anxiety.
I came to realise ada sebab kenapa kali ni rasa lebih anxious, rasa macam tak boleh nak proses, rasa risau tu lebih, rasa helpless.
There is the social isolation of the family, kan? Because of our own, what did we say? Our own fear. These fears may not be real, but they could be very real.
Betul.
Hai, salam sejahtera. Selamat datang ke episod ke-67 Kita Family Podcast. Di sini kami akan membincangkan perihal yang berkaitan dengan makna serta kepentingan hidup, bermasyarakat, menghargai keunikan serta kepelbagaian sesama kita dan meraihkan masyarakat yang berbilang agama, kaum, kepercayaan, rupa dan juga keupayaan. Kita menghargai hidup secara inklusif yang mengambil kira keperluan segenap lapisan masyarakat, terutama bagi mereka yang kurang atau berkelainan upaya. Hai, saya Desiree dan bersama-sama saya di studio hari ini adalah Nori.
Hai, Assalamualaikum.
Kakak SK.
Apa khabar?
Dan di Kota Kinabalu, Sabah, Didi.
Hai, Assalamualaikum.
Anik tidak dapat bersama-sama kami pada hari ini. Topik hari ini ada berkaitan sedikit dengan topik sebelum-sebelum ni, iaitu pada episod ke-49 kita pernah membincangkan tentang keresahan atau anxiety and fears. Okay, dalam episod tersebut kami membincang lebih kepada keresahan kami dan anak-anak kami dan bagaimana dapat membantu anak kami dan tips-tips untuk membantu diri kita sendiri apabila berasa resah or when the anxiety sets in. Pada penghujung episod tersebut kami adalah cakap nak cover juga tentang anxiety in teenagers, tetapi feedback daripada community. So thank you very much for all your comments, feedbacks, your messages in our social media. Ada satu lagi topik yang I think is a little bit more pressing, di mana kami akan membincangkan lebih kepada anxiety dan keresahan in the extended support that our children get. Right, whether it's caregivers, parents, grandparents, helpers at home, even up to therapists and therapists and cikgu lah, right? So the support network and the anxiety. So I think sometimes sebagai ibu bapa, for me lah especially, I feel that I'm anxious. Tetapi everyone has anxieties. Kan? And I know in my family a lot of my anxieties rub off on everyone else. So I also have to be very conscious on the anxiety levels of other people that care for my child. Okay, so I think let's kick off this discussion. We are going to go straight to Kota Kinabalu, Sabah. Didi, who has much experience to share. So Didi, over to you. Maybe you can share with us some examples of anxiety in extended family or extended carers with your girls or anything else.
Well, anxiety kan, boleh cakap pasal anxiety ni, you use the word resah. I think kalau guna bahasa yang lebih mudah, it's stem with kebimbangan, worry. Kita risau, kita fikirkan apa yang akan terjadi, sebab actually it's not just for neurodivergent, so semua orang pun, no one can tell the future, but kita jadi extra risau kan, sebab kita rasa uncertain future, tak tahu apa jadi pada masa akan datang. Kadang-kadang ada perkara yang sering berlaku dan kita tak mahu dia berlaku lagi. Contoh, kalau ada insiden anak meltdown di sekolah ataupun di tempat umum dan mungkin di rumah juga. Jadi kita rasa macam what if berlaku lagi. Dan kadang-kadang perkara tu memang, bukan kadang-kadang, some of the time memang berlaku lagi dan kita akan terus dihantui rasa bimbang sebab bila kita pergi ke situasi yang baru, kalau jadi lagi macam mana? So risau. Jadi risau, kadang-kadang risau ni boleh disebabkan oleh kita kurang yakin dengan kemahiran kita, ataupun kita tidak lagi selesaikan emosi kita. Contoh macam bila meltdown tu jadi, kita rasa malu ke, kita rasa macam kita tak nak lah benda ni berlaku. Walaupun kita faham, tapi ada juga perkara-perkara yang kita tak sangka. Yang tak sangka ni pun anxiety juga. Dan juga masa depan lah. Masa depan ni ada short term dan long term lah. We're talking kalau long term future tu, lepas sekolah nanti apa anak kita boleh buat. Kalau short term tu mungkin hari ni makan tengah hari nanti dia akan makan tak kalau kita sediakan makanan yang berbeza. Ataupun kita ada situasi baru, ada perkara contohnya akan menerima tetamu, adakah dia boleh menerima perubahan tersebut. Jadi rasa anxiety ni, resah, worry ni it's not totally bad. In a way menyebabkan kita ada sort of like mental checklist. Kita cuba untuk mengurangkan kejadian-kejadian yang tidak diingini berlaku. Sebagai contoh, kita tak nak lah anak kita berada dalam keadaan tak selesa supaya dia tidak sensory overload. So kita fikir, jangan bawa dia pergi ke tempat yang terlalu bising ataupun pergi ke tempat terlalu sesak. So dia tidaklah totally negatif, tapi ia ada satu perasaan yang menghantui kebanyakan ibu bapa neurodivergent kerana uncertainty dan the thoughts of what if kan, kalau jadi macam mana. So I think
actually Didi boleh tak I mencela sikit? No, I actually want to disagree with you about that. It's like not necessarily totally bad ke apa kan. Tapi because to me it's like actually I think in episode 49 you guys did cover and talk about the difference lah antara anxiety and fear kan. Satu fear tu is like very clear, tu perasaan takut, and that can actually be just as a human being we have this, actually all animals as a biological response kan. Perasaan takut ni wujud untuk membantu kita sebenarnya, right, to put you on alert. I think anxiety ni, to me anxiety ni tahap yang lebih tinggi daripada stress. So like as you said, ini kebimbangan yang menghantui. It's not bimbang biasa tau. It's bimbang akan masa depan, akan senario yang belum, kita tak tahu benda tu akan berlaku ke tidak. That's what makes it different from takut. Takut tu dah immediate. Takut tu benda tu ada sekarang, macam okay katalah ular ke apa, you know, betul-betul lalu depan kita, you know, something like that. Benda tu kita tahu wujud. So fear is absolutely correct response.
Yes.
Anxiety ni is like a combination of things, right? And I think the reason why I thought kita pun nak sambut this topic, and by the way, community feedback yang membawa kita kepada menceritakan you know, atau yang ingin menceritakan dan berkongsi lebih tentang anxiety ni adalah kerap kali bukan parents atau you know, siapa-siapa yang mendengar episod ni memberitahu pada kita bahawa ini adalah topik yang amat penting bagi saya. But it's like when they give feedback, we always hear, I'm so tired, I can't take it anymore, I keep worrying about my kid, I don't know what to do about the future, I don't know what to do next after habis sekolah rendah, tak tahu apa akan jadi pada dia lepas dia tinggalkan tempat ni, kita tak tahu, you know. So it was so, you know, terang lagi bersulur. To me it was sangat-sangat jelas dan ketara bahawa ini adalah satu isu yang besar kerana ramai ibu bapa dan mereka yang of course menjadi penjaga lah kepada anak-anak, you know, neurodivergent, anak-anak OKU and all that. Dia bukan tahap stres, level dia dah tinggi, you know. So I mean, I know what you're trying to say, that it helps, you know, there's a function to stress and fear and maybe to some degree anxiety. Tapi dalam konteks mungkin episod hari ni untuk bagi Nori lah, bagi Nori, kita sedang menyebut tentang anxiety yang like that, menghantui, yang mungkin telah atau boleh membawa kepada trauma. Trauma ni adalah satu kesan negatif di mana kita akan merasa perasaan yang, you know, tak sedap ni, dan kerisauan, kebimbangan, whatever it is yang negatif berpanjangan. So that's almost to the next level already, right? Which is why I think anxiety is so bad. But yeah, I mean, clearly this is like affecting me also. But please, let's go back to you. I actually liked how you sort of started it off. I just wanted to mention that part about anxiety to my mind. Yeah. Yeah.
Didi, if I boleh interrupt pun, so I like to just extend what Nori has alerted lah. Sebenarnya, as a a typical body response to stress, that's why we dapatkan gejala-gejala, sweating lah, and so forth, which we
Physical
recognize, the physical kan. But I think it's very important for us to be aware. Anxiety, we say we can respond to it, and a lot of it is learned. How do we respond to anxiety that we can manage it?
So like,
So
Okay.
actually what's important in both the earlier conversations is menghantui because you cannot control it.
Yep.
When you feel the stress, we need to differentiate stress. When you feel it, anxiety is about the unknown.
yep,
So when you are unknown, you won't know how to manage it.
yep,
So if we start to recognize when we are beyond stress, we might go into the level of anxiety. That means belum jadi lagi, tapi we think it will happen.
yep.
Okay, and then as Nori mentioned, the further level of anxiety can, if we don't learn how to manage the anxiety, we then will have constant anxiety. Cumulatively, kami jumlahkan, tambahkan, layerkan, it becomes trauma.
Yeah.
And that can be, as we know, very trapping. The word of trauma is when you cannot find a solution, you are stuck.
Yeah.
And that can make us unable to do our daily activity. We are not able to look after ourselves, let alone
Orang lain.
and that's why we feel it very important to revisit topic 49 because what we get from feedback is this is a very daily and real challenge.
Yeah. And we don't know if people realize that it's that bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the way we can overcome or not depends on many factors, which tonight kalau
We're gonna
kami
talk about
boleh
it.
We can
dikupaskan.
kupas.
Yeah.
So if I'm hearing this correctly, 3 perkataan that has stood out so far is I think it's the 3 different levels. First is stress. And I think stress is the first
Tekanan,
response. Tekanan. And I think tanggapan tentang tekanan ni pun is always given a bad rap. In actual fact, stress is necessary, right? There is a function for stress.
Yeah.
So even when we talk about things like toxic stress, if you read about it in textbooks, there are a few levels of toxic stress. Even in the development of babies and children, stress is necessary. Tapi bila dah terlebih stress, that's when it leads to anxiety. And when the anxiety is elevated for longer periods of time, then it turns into trauma. Betul, kakak?
Yeah.
That would be a simplest way to
Yes.
understand. Ada tahapnya.
Yeah.
And that's why
You
we
want to deal with it.
We
Yes.
always say early intervention
Yes.
applies also to caregivers. Kan?
Yes.
It's not just anak-anak kami, but it's to us. Yeah.
Okay, so now let's go back to Didi.
I think like you said, early intervention for caregivers, perhaps it's about skill, knowledge kan, how to manage our children and then understanding on the condition itself. So of course it helps when we know that, okay, these are the things that could happen and then when it happened, what we can do to manage things. But there's many of other things yang menjadi penyumbang kepada anxiety ni adalah sesuatu yang kita tak boleh manage sekadar kemahiran kita manage kita punya perasaan. Ini adalah faktor-faktor logistik, faktor services yang ada, kemudahan-kemudahan, peluang yang ada untuk anak-anak. Jadi macam bila sebuah keluarga itu dengan ada anak neurodivergent tapi berada dalam keadaan yang tidak mampu untuk mempunyai pilihan, kan, kena hantar ke sekolah yang mana, kemudian perkhidmatan yang sesuai, contoh untuk mendapatkan terapi yang lebih kerap, yang lebih berkesan. Jadi dia penyumbang yang lebih macam susah tau kita nak support sebagai seorang kawan, ataupun sebagai seorang yang ahli komuniti yang sama, kan. Kita macam, okay, kalau someone come to us and say that macam, oh, saya tak tahulah anak saya nak pergi sekolah macam mana sebab anak saya di sekolah begini-begini, guru pun macam tak mahu menerima anak tersebut di sekolah lagi ke. So saya rasa kebanyakan discussion kita tentang anxiety adalah sesuatu yang kita boleh atasi, kita boleh manage sebab kita ada sumber yang alhamdulillah membantu kita untuk menyelesaikan sebilangan perkara lah. Tapi dalam keadaan konteks di Malaysia, ramai lagi parents yang menghadapi anxiety kerana solution yang out of reach, kan? Sebab persekitaran dan juga, okay, yang tu tadi kita bercakap tentang logistik, kemudahan untuk mendapatkan rawatan, terapi. Bagaimana dengan tekanan daripada masyarakat sendiri? Kadang tak payah sampai masyarakat, ahli keluarga pun ada yang memberikan tekanan. Membantu tak dapat tapi memberikan tekanan, kan. Contoh macam memberikan expectation, oh, anak you dah umur 3 tahun, kenapa masih macam ni? Dah umur 5 tahun, kenapa masih pakai lampin? Kenapa masih belum boleh bercakap? Kenapa perlu hantar sekolah khas? Kenapa tak cuba untuk hantar ke tadika biasa sahaja? Jadi ia memberi tekanan yang menyebabkan anxiety lah. Of course akan terbawa-bawa tau. Walaupun kita akan self-talk lah. Macam okay, this is just noise, kan. Ia patutnya tidak memberi kesan kepada kita kerana at the end of the day yang manage anak kita tu adalah caregiver terdekat lah, ibu bapa dan mungkin kalau ada pembantu rumah, nanny, grandparents yang terlibat, guru, terapis. Jadi macam kalau kita fikirkan punca-punca anxiety ni bukan sekadar internal, apa yang berlaku dalam rumah dan family sahaja.
Okay, thanks for that, Didi. Very interesting, a lot for us to ponder on, and dan kita ni bukan cakap-cakap based on our experience as well. This is fact. Ada data, ada statistik. Maybe tak semestinya dari Malaysia, but it is a valid example of the fact that people do experience anxiety. So there is a study here that caregivers of children with neurodevelopmental disorders that face psychological issues during COVID-19 pandemic, right? And the statistics were 36.6% reported anxiety, 41.1% reported depression. This is something we haven't talked about yet, but this is very real.
Kemurungan.
This is very real, depression, right? And it's not one of those terms yang kita saja-saja guna, oh, I'm depressed. No, these are people who are clinically depressed. And 58.9% reported stress.
Yeah, so I take it to be like one, there was a time when so many things took a pause, that there was an ability to do research and gather data maybe more widely and more efficiently. That's why we have this kind of thing, kira dari segi data statistik daripada zaman pandemik. Tapi yang keduanya adalah kerana kita dapat mengenal pasti apakah sebabnya stres telah berlaku, because everybody was experiencing stress due to living with COVID-19, right?
Yes.
So for me, we can accept these statistics juga, because at a point in time when stress is very clear and present in life, dan kita tahu bila kita mempunyai ahli keluarga atau di bawah orang yang dikasihi, di bawah jagaan kita, memanglah stress level kita, this is very well documented about how it's higher. I mean, we've talked about it before, right? Some of our stress levels have been compared to people living in war zones.
Yep.
So it is, it's real, and it's on all these different things. Whenever we belong in this category of ND lah, kan? So kalau parents yang biasa pun, kita tahu tahap anxiety sebagai ibu bapa, especially bagi
In this
anak
day and age, it's a
bagi
bit
anak
scarier.
yang umur 14 tahun ke bawah, if I'm not mistaken, there was one study. Everything is above 50%, 60%. Every type of stress,
Yes.
every issue in terms of like tak boleh tidur, anxiety, this, everything. It's a real thing. But the point is, ini untuk ibu bapa yang biasa-biasa. Anak dia tak mempunyai apa-apa diagnosis yang berkaitan dengan permasalahan dari segi any kind of thing related to OKU dan sebagainya. So as soon as you add that in, then we know the layers are so much higher. So for me to put it simply, there's it's two things lah. One, we have to, I think satu, kita kena meningkatkan kesedaran tentang kenapa benda ini penting dan perlu dikesan, ditangani, dan kita sebaik mungkin lah. I mean, I'm glad you brought that up, Didi. It's true. It's very hard when the sources of the anxiety and stress are things that we definitely cannot control. But that's also why kita buat, usaha seperti kita family and all that. It's the advocacy work. So one, any of you happen to be listening and mungkin teringat that you are the one yang membawa stress and anxiety to your friend or family member, please check yourself and be kinder. So that is said. But secondly, to go back to the part of, as Kakak was talking about, understanding the anxiety and what it is that we can maybe try to control, address, or respond to better. That one we definitely, something that we should talk about tonight. That one is for sure. The second thing that also makes this really, really important, I think, is that kita kena sedar bahawa kalau anxiety kita semakin teruk dan tidak terkawal, kita tidak mungkin dapat memainkan peranan sebagai orang yang menjaga orang lain yang memulakan kita. We cannot care for those, we love as well as we can, okay? Because we're not going to be in a good place. You're putting yourself in dangers of like when your anxiety is really high, it starts to cause even physical problems. Right? It can lead to illness.
Yes.
Okay, so you get to a point where you're not going to be able to do your caregiving well, satu. Tapi as it gets worse, the far end, the extreme end of it, but we know happens because kita memang akan mendengar tentang benda ni di dalam berita. Dan maybe just dalam perbualan di sekeliling kita and things like that, is that not just that you cannot help, you start to cause harm.
Yeah.
Okay, you're not looking after. Dah lah you tak boleh memainkan peranan dan tanggungjawab yang sepatutnya, tapi kita pula nanti akan jadi penyebab kepada that kind of problem kepada yang kita jaga. And I don't know, one of the, again, preparing for this episode, we're looking at some stats. Kita ni kan dah jadi sandwich
generation.
Kita perlu menjaga ibu bapa kita, generasi yang di atas kita, dan kita juga masih perlu menjaga anak-anak kita. We're stuck in the middle.
Yes.
That's like really, really big. But so many things can happen. So if you don't address that, that's a problem. So these two are really big things. And then I hope we also get to discuss the different type of caregivers around us lah.
Yeah.
Right? One, you might not be aware for yourself. Secondly, maybe you're aware for yourself, but you don't even realize that this could be happening to the people who are helping to support you. We are very lucky in Malaysia. Domestic help, staff, all these extra extended wonderful people who come to you, to your family and all that, looking after the most precious things in your life, which is your children.
Yep.
When we ask them to help look after our kids, what is the level of stress
They go through
that they have? Okay, so I'll just share with you that me and my long-term nanny over the years, I'm sure there's a whole bunch of reasons. There might be some genes or whatever it is and involved, but but also I think with everything is going on, we both have hypertension. Okay, now we have to manage and live with it. right? It's not the end of the world, but I don't want that to continue to be something else. So we obviously have to look after ourselves and each other a bit better. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I
Can
want
I
to
just,
pivot to Kakak actually for the allied health perspective, because I count them as part of the caregiving care partner team.
Yeah, well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I really wanted to jump in, Mas Nori, as well as Didi. You and I'll address the allied health
Okay.
in respect of inadequate support. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tapi Didi, spot on. Before we even try to help ourselves, if we don't try to understand or identify what is the source
Yes.
of stress, anxiety, and trauma. Kan?
Yeah, that's going to be hard to fix.
What is the core cause
Yeah.
of this? Then we are always just in medicine, we try to get a diagnosis because we must know what is the issue before we treat.
Yeah.
And
Kalau tidak, you're just dealing with the symptoms.
exactly.
Dan benda tu akan berulang.
And kami berulang, and there doesn't seem to be an end. So if we revisit first, apakah puncanya yang caregivers ni is feeling the anxiety? Yeah. And thank you for bringing up from a perspective, from a professional perspective for allied health, and as a parent, we are all so aware that the lack of professional help, purely because there are inadequate professionals available, is a definite cause that can still have room to be addressed. Yeah. Providing training.
Yep.
Yeah. So if there's all the government agencies, my call out is please look at the data that is known to us, how short we are in the support therapeutic services from all the therapeutics, from clinical psychologists to speech, OT, music therapists, physiotherapists. That is a professional help.
I also hope that those professionals are looking after themselves and they look after each other too.
That is even another conversation, kan? Because we are talking about all the different carers.
Yeah.
Then let us look at financial support. Yeah. Without, as we know, financial support. And we had a wonderful episode by the director of JKM. Yeah. There is some level of support, but we all know as parents who have, or just as individuals who have family who are not well health-wise, and if we recognize neurodiversity is part of a neurobiological difference or issue, it is actually a health issue.
Yeah.
Then finances become very important for not only education, kan? Health and education.
We had an episode about that too, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, bantuan kewangan untuk yang memerlukan. Episode yang I have to check. Yeah, but we definitely talked about about bantuan kewangan yang ada.
Budgeting and
Betul.
how to prioritize
Yes, yeah.
spending.
How
So
to help with that part.
idea drawing
But,
back is
more is needed.
let us go back to punca. Yeah, the source. What do we need still? And the other one that I wanted to bring out is, when we speak about awareness of what are the gejala of anxiety, but public education about what neurodiversity is, that continuous education, public education about what PWD is, just about the condition is a way to mitigate the societal expectation yang tak benar atau it's a
true.
myth, kan?
Yes.
So all these important points that you have alerted us again, carikan, go back to the punca,
So that we can get rid of some of those, right?
We have to work at many levels, and don't forget, with all this, there is the social isolation of the family, kan? Because of our own, what did we say? Our own fear. These fears may not be real, but they could be very real.
Betul.
But what we don't know, yang mana kami tak boleh control. Yeah. So we really, the call for all of us, I would like to kind of put forward in this episode is don't forget to go back and revisit the causes as we continue also to find what could be the support that we can get from every different aspect too. Yeah.
Yep.
You know, before we go for break, I just want to end with a very short story
Okay.
on teachers, right? The teachers of our children. And recently there was an incident dekat sekolah Hans when I picked him up, and it made me realise how much stress the teachers actually go through. Sebab dalam 3 ke 6 jam yang anak kita ke sekolah, ada ramai cikgu yang rasa itulah anak mereka for that 3 to 6 hours. And this one day when I pick Hans up from school, instead of 1 cikgu, 2 cikgu keluar, and his regular teacher looked so terrified, and she went, "Sorry mummy, hari ni ada incident." I'm like, "What happened?" And so there was an incident, something happened, and it ended with Hans getting bitten by another boy. Hans kena gigit lah, tangan dia kena gigit. There was no blood, memang sikit je lah, like one mark. There was no puncture or whatever. But this teacher, dia menangis. She started crying and she went, "I'm so sorry mummy, I'm so sorry." And I said, "You know what, teacher? No one was hurt, right? Hans okay, the other boy okay. Can I please give you a hug?"
Yeah. Wow.
And I say, "It's okay." So, you know, I think let's ponder on that a bit, that the other people that look after our kids also go through levels of stress and anxiety.
Indeed, and that's what Nori was saying. Caregivers too actually has got quite a large circle. We as parents perhaps are the immediate one, and Nori described our precious helper at home. The teachers, even actually I believe also all the people in the contact with the family. Even our great drivers sometimes that we have, they have to look out for our children too.
Yeah, definitely.
So absolutely right.
Yeah, extended support, especially in Malaysia. We're so blessed to have it, right? Tapi kadang-kadang mungkin kita pun tak terfikir yelah, benda-benda macam ni. Kalau ada, kita akan terasa something juga. Ya, tak semestinya diorang terlepas pada that thing because it's not their child. I think they feel it lah. So you said with the teacher. Yeah, let's
take a short break and we'll be right back. Hai, selamat kembali ke episod ke-67 Kita Family Podcast. Hari ini kita membincangkan tentang anxiety, also known as keresahan, kerisauan, kebimbangan. Banyaklah perkataan yang kita boleh gunakan for this one word in English. Dalam bahasa Melayu ada banyak variations of it. But at the end of the day, we know it's not the best thing for us. Kita ada bincangkan sedikit tentang stress and also trauma and some of our personal stories. So, kita akan teruskan perbincangan. And I believe Didi has a very recent experience to share with us. So, I'm going to just hand it over straight to you, Didi.
Okay, untuk pengetahuan semua pendengar dan penonton, the past 1 month memang Didi agak anxious. So dalam group chat kita tu selalulah Didi macam tolong like I'm so anxious, my anxiety is through the roof. So things that had happened mostly are things that had happened before. So if benda tu dah pernah terjadi dan sebelum ni anxiety level Didi tidaklah sentiasa tinggi, betul tak? So biasa Didi like okay je, calm je, but I came to realise ada sebab kenapa kali ni rasa lebih anxious, rasa macam tak boleh nak proses, rasa risau tu lebih, rasa helpless, rasa macam alamak macam mana ni, adakah dia akan forever isu yang sama, walaupun sebelum ni rasa macam tahu isu tu akan berlaku, it's part of being autistic, tapi okay je, terima je, macam okay, it's part of my children's life. Tapi punca yang menyebabkan my capacity menurun untuk handle stress yang sama yang menyebabkan anxiety tu adalah kerana saya mendapat kecederaan di buku lali. So I sprained my ankle. I couldn't walk for a few days, and I was also advised not to walk on uneven surfaces. So jadi maksudnya tak bolehlah pergi berjalan di taman. Sebab saya suka lepas hantar anak pergi sekolah, pergi berjalan di taman, jadi dapat matahari. And then taman tu memang tak rata lah. Dia ada naik bukit sikit, ada turun bukit sikit. So I enjoyed that. My me time and the exercise, the sunlight, I guess helped me to regulate myself and boleh process lah all this life stress kan. So masih belum lagi pergi berjalan di luar, hanya mula berjalan di dalam rumah on the treadmill. Jadi ia memberi kesan. Jadi it shows that self-care, exercise, whatever that helps, kalau kurang kan akan beri effect. Dan I had to find other ways to help me with my anxiety. So I turned to you guys, and you guys definitely helped me to process my thoughts and make my clear lah. Thank you so much.
I think you've done that for us also.
Exactly. And you know what I really admire through the whole process, Didi, that you went through, you still never forgot about your responsibilities. Part of your anxiety during that time was because you couldn't do it yourself. Tapi boleh je, you can actually make other arrangements. They still went to school, certain days maybe they skipped school, and of course you had help as well, kan? So in a way, I'm really proud of you how you navigated it.
Yeah, and self-awareness. That was very, very important. I mean, how many people are willing to say that not just that I'm feeling like this, but it's like I need help.
Yeah.
You know? You reached out for help and you got it.
Yep.
Alhamdulillah, you got it in different ways. I'm not necessarily referring to us je, tapi macam at home lah where you are in KK, kan? Yeah, so that is, I think to me that's a very clear example of how we have to recognize levels of stress so that it doesn't become anxiety. We put things in place so there is prevention.
Yeah.
Okay, so kita nak mencegah dulu sebelum benda tu terjadi. And then kita dah tahu bahawa kalau kita tidak membuat benda-benda yang akan membantu kita, kesan dia memang ketara lah. Ya, dan akan jadi serta-merta. Kan, it's not delayed actually. Straight away. So when you lost your means for regulation, which was connected to a topic of our recent episode, it really had a knock-on effect on you in so many different ways, kan? But the good news is that adalah cara untuk membantu kita menghadapi tekanan dan anxiety. And one of the best ones is janganlah tunggu sampai ke tahap anxiety. Deal with it at the stress level dulu, kan?
Jangan sampai ke burnout.
So I really want to just go back again, Didi, when you shared sebelum you sprain your ankle, your own your awareness that you needed the me time. That time that you take to walk, to reflect, to get some sun. That is that prevention part. I just want to revalidate that.
That's a good thing.
It is the ideal thing that you are not only aware, but you take the action. And sounds like that is macam routine lah, kan? And that routine is the self-care we try to have for ourselves. Kan? Then when things got interrupted, when the self-care got interrupted, the asking, many of us forget to ask for help. And
or don't want to ask for help. Don't want.
There's the don't wants. But if we can alert everybody to ask for help sebenarnya, is one intervention strategy that we always teach our neurodivergent clients in our therapy center, that you can ask for help. Ask for help. Kan? So but when you ask for help, you got the response to help you come back again towards the normal. You still need the physical healing time for ankle kan.
Yeah.
Tapi knowing that there is not just us. I remember the school where the girls were. They were really excellently responding to your situation then kan. Yeah. So that's very important.
Yeah.
So I just want to go on there to add one thing. Many a times, all us as mothers selalu say yes. When we ask for help, I want to contrast that to kadang-kadang for our own self-care, especially Asian, if I can say Asian, we have to learn how to say no. Just as important. And I want to say
my face.
I am very guilty because we have so much capacity. Sometimes we don't realize.
No, we take the capacity for granted lah.
Correct.
Yeah.
I have to learn to say no. And that is, I think, self-help that to help us prevent.
Are you saying
from
it now like this supaya semua orang can remind you?
Thank you. Tolong remind me
Accountability ke?
because that's what the support system is. Kan? When we understand that, nampak too many yeses here, the joke is we say, I'm a yes man, But sometimes to help ourselves, to not overtake too much, asking for help and saying no is just as important.
And I think I recently faced the consequences of that, right? Where I saw the signs of burnout. I saw it. Memang dah clear. I was tired. I was exhausted.
Okay.
But I didn't slow down and I didn't say no. Then my body decided for me.
Crash.
My body decided for me for 2 days. I spent 2 days just sleeping. And I'm very blessed and very fortunate I had the luxury to do that.
Yep.
Tapi ada di antara kita, and I want to really acknowledge that some of us don't have that, know. But yeah, and it was my own doing for 2 days. Literally, I was in bed. I was asleep.
Okay.
Tak ada masa nak tengok Netflix, baca buku or do anything leisurely because I was that tired.
Right.
So it was a very bitter lesson to learn. So let this be a lesson for all of us too.
Can we also go back to this thing about saying no and asking for help?
Yeah.
I want us to go back to the extended support that we have, especially for our children or the anybody in our home that needs extra care, and the people who support us as well. I think if you're talking about some of these people, I don't think that they're in a position to say no, especially, or at least they cannot say no often. And I don't know if they also necessarily feel comfortable asking for help. Okay, and this might be like, your helpers, kan, dekat rumah ke. So whether it is somebody that you employ, but it could also be sometimes it is extended family sebagai contoh, So I want to go back to how that we do have to think about extending that care and mindfulness, with empathy to the other human beings that are supporting us.
Absolutely.
So I have an example of a family member of mine who, when young, ended up having a very traumatic experience and now has to, it's not too bad, but does live with a certain amount of claustrophobia because this person's caregiver ended up locking them up as a child in the bathroom before. And so it's like, I don't know the cause per se or like whether it was really because of anxiety, but my point is these are people that we entrust with people who care about us. I think you definitely need to care about the people who are caring for you and your family.
Absolutely.
Because
Always.
things can happen. So you don't want the situation where katalah we're talking about anxiety, right? So we'll go back to that, where the anxiety not only affects your ability to do your caring, your responsibility well, but this was something where it caused harm, right? So if that person katalah is not in a good place, then sometimes certain things can happen, and it might not be something to that point of being, like an active macam tu, tapi it could be kecuaian, right? Because anxiety, high levels of anxiety will affect things like executive functioning,
Ability to plan, ability to manage.
or just kind of
The judgment,
tired.
Reasoning, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Didi.
judgment.
Judgment. Absolutely,
yeah.
judgment. Yep. Correct.
So kind of be aware of that. And I know, for example, and there are ways to sort of care for people, right? So if you look, in an office setting, you would do things to bond, to be together, to have team makan, this or whatever. You should have those at home too. We have those in my house.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why, alhamdulillah, we have people who worked with us for decades, not just years, because, it's like, sometimes they pick whatever it is that, we all eat, we all, just kind of little things that maybe you would do in other situations. Sometimes at home, I think we sort of forget or put a double standard on certain things. I know, Desiree, also you have right?
Yep.
You've got a carer for your kids also.
Yep.
For your families,
Yes.
that you like, and
So it's a first for us to have full-time help after all these years. Hans is going to be 10, and so there are days, good days, bad days. There are days we have zones in the house. You look after this zone, I look after that zone.
the tag team and all
Tag
that.
team, but I think for me, I feel I need to appreciate her.
Yeah.
Because this is a person who's left her family and come to help me care for mine in a different country, and we really sayang her. She's like one of the kids to us, very young, and there are days when I can see the tiredness. So I know I feel tiredness, and I tell her, Hans pergi ke sekolah, please go and have a nap, for an hour or two, and then she on her own knows to get up and continue and get on with her day. And there's nothing wrong with that. They're human beings too.
Yeah. And then I think apart from her, you also get help from your parents, kan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with my parents, sebab mereka pun dah berumur, and they have their own anxiety. So cuba bayangkanlah, sayang memang tetap sayang. They know
Sayang
Hans
lebih kadang.
terlebih sayang until now. Hans terlebih
Terpaling
manja,
sayang.
terpaling sayang and terpaling manja now. Can't even have to call him in a very manja tone. But I take the extra effort to make caring for Hans in my absence easy for them. So it's simple things macam make sure the house is stocked with groceries. Tak payahlah my dad drive to the shop just to buy ubi kentang to cook, for example. The house is stocked.
Yeah.
Dah
Dah dah kena jaga Hans, kan?
Exactly. So just make things a little bit easier for them. Or like if I know, for example, going on a car ride just with my parents, they may feel anxious. So I bagilah, okay, here's my spare phone as a standby in case you need it in the car. So, whatever we can to reduce their anxiety while caring for our children. Likewise, with our allied health care, our therapists, our teachers, always give them that reassurance. Of course, I'm not saying hari-hari go and praise them. It doesn't take away our right to question things, right?
Yeah, of
In
course.
therapy,
And demand
in
or
school,
expect
answers.
good, good
Yes.
efforts, good,
Correct.
service from service providers.
Yes.
Good.
We don't
you
need to
can,
be a
but if you're
pushover.
but if you're
you
going
need
to do that
appreciate.
also, then
Yeah.
you need to appreciate as well, lah.
Yes, it's little things like, Teachers Day gifts or, so sometimes just taking a photo of your kid and the teacher together and sending to the teacher goes a really long way. And I get these photos back years later like, oh, look, mommy, you sent me this photo and, look how big he is now. So,
I just want to,
kindness.
indeed, actually, the kindness, just to be aware sometimes a simple break. You mentioned just take a rest because it is memang letih physically. Let alone we are actually talking about the emotional part.
Emotional, mental exhaustion,
And mental
not
exhaustion.
just penat badan, right?
So I remember one of the motivation in terms of break and rest. In fact, we're going to have our 10th camp this year. The motivation to have time where the family or the parents can just take a break, physical, when the neurodiverse kids or even adults can attend something away from the carers. That respite care lah. We call it the respite care.
Respite care. This is the Merdeka camps.
In some international setting, memang ada respite care. Okay, it's not so formalized here in Malaysia. But
not a public,
not
provided by,
not a provided service or activity, but we have to recognize, and maybe I should make a call to action for all the different NGOs or service providers. Think about respite care because it provides physical relief.
We have respite care at Kids Gym.
That's right.
That's what we do. It's called Parents' Day Out.
Parents' Day Out. Yeah.
Okay, so we have to wait for WRTS Kids Gym to reopen our location again. I will update you all, inshallah.
And it's
Things will
very
be in a
important.
good place by just to be safe. Maybe in a few weeks we'll have update. But we do. That is something that is very important. We want to just make sure sometimes it's not just about the kids. We actually,
It has to be about the
it has to
adults
be
too.
about the adults too.
The carers.
Yeah, everything together. Because again, we have to live and walk the talk of us calling for our biggest village, biggest kampung in the whole world to look after, our kids, bringing up our kids and each other, kan? So, there is that. And you should get that for yourself. If you can help arrange that for the people who help you look after your loved one that needs that extra support, you should be doing that also. For sure. For that, the anxiety bit. It's a lot. Kan? I mean, this anxiety is just far too common lah. And it's causing a lot of, it's definitely contributing to, non-communicable diseases. And that one kita tahu in Malaysia, kita kan champion. Saya sebut pasal benda tu, kan?
Just
So,
among us,
stress
no show of
and
hands, how many of us
anxiety,
suffer from
you know?
migraines or tummy issues? These are all caused by anxiety and stress.
Also, yes, they are contributors lah, for sure. Not saying that everything that happens in your life that's a problem is this, but it contributes quite a lot actually, more than we know, kan?
It does.
More than we know. I mean, ada hari tu Didi kan, we were talking about how sometimes bila that extended stress and anxiety amongst us, right, as parents, then when we get dah sampai level tu, kita pun tak realise, tapi that is exactly when things will kind of go wrong between us and our kids, right?
Yep.
Kan?
Betul.
Stress and anxiety in a different situation, coming from outside, coming from work scenario, and then something will happen. So this is maybe not all the way to the word causing harm, but definitely causing complications and problem and scenario yang
tidak diingini.
adegan yang tidak kita ingin
Tidak
lihat.
diingini.
Dan tidak diingin langsung, but it will happen lah.
Yeah.
What? It will happen with all of us and our our in-laws children, our grandparents children.
On that note, I really want to thank my parents.
I'm just saying that all these phrases that we have come up with whenever we find that it's not actually our children that was the biggest problem of the day.
Yes. So I was the one who said
but it's
grandparents' children, referring to my parents. But jokes aside, yes, of course, I'm sure I caused them a lot of stress as well. So sorry about that. But at the same time, I really want to thank them. So whenever they come back, to stay with us, my mom is always reminding me, even my dad, and they do it separately. It's so cute, right? One will come to me and say, since we're back, why don't you and Nara go out? Don't worry about what.
No,
and
your
then
parents,
10 minutes later, my dad
no.
comes and tells me the exact same.
They are like exemplary extended support grandparents and all that from
that's
Hans.
true.
Okay,
Yes, so thank you.
No, we know this. No, for sure. These are things that we can just say and we're kind of joking about it because we know it's like, yeah, of course, we can only joke about stuff where we know that the opposite is, is true. Or the lived reality of it is, is something that we very, very much appreciate. We have a lot of gratitude for. But okay lah, whatever lah, it's just jokes lah. And sometimes the problem is, my mother, father's child lah. I'm the problem. I memang tahu I am the problem child kadang-kadang.
Self-awareness.
That's why we're saying self-awareness and then sort yourself out.
Self-awareness.
Apa sal kau tak adalah I pergi sampai tahap keadaan darah tinggi whatever. Part of that was also caused self-inflicted. Tak tahu like as kakak said also, combination of everything. You know how to say no, this, that, whatever. But whenever everybody else around you or people have contributed to it, maybe try to contribute to it less now lah. Okay, can we help each other out? I'm
kind.
already problem child sometimes. Help me lah. Don't add to my problem.
Kindness. I think the key word here is kindness. It doesn't cost
Kindness
us
very
anything. A pat on the back, a smile, just a kind word. Hey, you look great today. I think that just goes a long way. Right? Thank you. I know I look great today. Thank you.
Kindness
Macam mana
matters.
tu? Siapa tak nampak kat sini ada bakul. Desiree pun telah memasuk bakulnya sendiri. Okay.
Okay, so I think we're about to wrap up.
Yup.
So let's go to Didi. If you have any final words for today.
Anxiety ni menjadi makin sukar untuk dikawal apabila kita rasa kita gagal. Kita rasa kita tak accomplish anything, macam buat ini pun tak jadi, kita nak anak kita macam ni, kan harapan, expectation semua tak dapat. Tapi kita perlu ingatlah dalam hidup kita ni, kita bukan hanyalah seorang ibu. Kita juga seorang isteri, kita ada tugas-tugas lain, kita ada kita punya minat, hobi, tanggungjawab pada diri sendiri juga. Jadi please also focus on other things yang boleh buat kita rasa kita accomplish something, yang akan buatkan kita rasa macam today I've done this, I feel good. Tak adalah macam all doom je kan. Itu yang spiral terus, all the anxiety je ada yang tinggal.
Thank you, Didi. I think sometimes self-praise, I joke about it, but sometimes self-praise is necessary lah.
Yes,
We need
your
to feel
bakul.
good.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, next episode, I will bring my own bakul.
You did.
Kakak FK, any last word?
Yes, so jangan lupa please ask for help. And sometimes that help mungkin we have to seek professionals.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Yeah. And I just want to close. The kindness matters. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Kindness matters. Nori, anything to add?
I think I'm okay.
Okay. On that note, I'm going to end again by saying, yes, kindness matters. So let's start by being kind to ourselves first. And then everyone else around us. Because you can't pour from an empty cup. So thank you for listening. Terima kasih kerana sudi mendengar dan menonton episod ini. Sekiranya ada apa-apa komen, any stories, anecdotes you want to share, sila masukkan ke dalam komen or send us private messages. We read them all. We may sometimes take time to reply, but rest assured we read all your comments and messages. Jangan lupa subscribe to YouTube, follow us on Spotify, and share all our social media accounts, TikTok, Facebook and Instagram.
Turn on notifications.
Turn on notifications dan sebagainya lah, dan segala yang sewaktu dengannya. Thank you very much. Till the next episode. Salam sejahtera and goodbye from us.
Bye.
Bye.